Last night I woke up standing over it again. My hands were on the lid. I don't know how long I'd been there. I don't know how close I came. There is an antique trunk sitting in my living room. It has been here for weeks. I did not bring it here. I don't know how it got in. And every single night, while I'm asleep, I walk out of my bedroom and try to climb inside it. I need you to understand something before I tell you the rest. 2 people I know are dead. One of them was found burned to ash inside that trunk. The trunk we burned. The trunk that should not exist anymore. And it's here. In my home. Waiting. This all started with a heist that was never supposed to go wrong. There were 3 of us. Me, Jess, and Braden. Braden ran an auction business. That's how he knew about Lou, a middle-aged recluse who lived alone in an enormous lake house deep in the woods. A bald, nearsighted collector of antique Chinese porcelain, Ming Dynasty jade, Qing Dynasty vases. Tens of thousands of dollars worth of objects just sitting there in a house with no cameras. Just a basic alarm system. Braden knew Lou from auctions. Said they were harmless. Shy and short and frightened of their own shadow. Like if Piglet from Winnie the Pooh hoarded antiques, he said. The plan was Jess's. Not mine. She'd knock on the door disguised, wig, different makeup, acting friendly until Lou disarmed the alarm and opened up. Then I'd rush in, tackle Lou, zip-tie their wrists, and lock them somewhere while we stripped the house. I'm not proud of any of this. I'm just telling you what happened. Lou opened the door and surrendered like a frightened animal. Didn't fight. Didn't scream. Just shook. We put a bag over their head and went to find a closet to lock them in. Every closet was full. That's when I saw it. A large lacquered trunk in the corner of the living room. Dark wood. Ornate designs carved across every surface. Mother of pearl flowers on the lid. I pointed it out to Jess. She grinned. We pushed Lou inside and locked it. Then Braden came in and pointed us to the most valuable pieces, and we packed everything up and left. On the way out, Braden said one of us should call the police so Lou wouldn't be left in there. Jess said it couldn't be any of us, too risky. So they pressured me to get my girlfriend at the time, Monique, to call it in. I told her I'd seen a possible break-in through a window and didn't want to call myself because I already looked suspicious. She didn't want to do it. I wheedled and promised to buy her something nice. She said fine. We went out for drinks. Celebrated. Braden gave us an advance on our share. Everything had gone perfectly. Until it hadn't. 9 days later, Braden called. His voice was tight. Strained. He told me he'd sent a delivery guy to Lou's house. He knew Lou from auction, there was a package being dropped off, and he'd also wanted to gauge whether Lou had any suspicions about what happened. No one answered the door. Lou wasn't picking up the phone. You called in that tip, right? He asked. I called Monique on the way to Braden's. She was at work. She said, "Oh, shoot, babe." She'd forgotten. I bit off the words rising in my throat. Anything I said could incriminate me. She didn't know the details. She'd just forgotten to make one phone call. One phone call. The 3 of us met at Braden's office and screamed at each other for a while. Then he said we had to go back. Jess refused. So it was me and Braden making the drive up into the woods. I remember how isolated the road felt. The trees pressing in on both sides. The silence except for the engine. And the thought that I kept pushing away, that if you were locked inside a trunk, surrounded by jade and porcelain, in a house this deep in the trees, there was no one to hear you scream. The front door was locked. I went around the side. A living room window slid open easily. I stopped. The interior looked exactly as we'd left it. Furniture in place. Everything perfectly arranged, except the trunk. It had moved. Just slightly. Shifted out of position the way a picture frame goes crooked when something behind the wall has been banging against it. It was still locked shut. I pulled my head out of the window and looked at Braden. His face looked exactly how my chest felt. We'd both noticed the smell. A thick, awful smell rolling out of the open window into the cold air. I don't need to explain what it was. We left. We didn't speak. We didn't call each other for weeks. The antiques sat untouched in Braden's storage facility. None of us said a word about any of it. We just tried to forget. Then Jess called me one evening. She said the trunk was in her living room. I thought she was messing with me. I hung up. When I heard she'd overdosed, it was a shock, but Jess had always been wild. It was awful. It was sad. But it wasn't impossible to believe. Then Braden called. He told me how she'd been found. Her body was inside a trunk. She had crawled in before she overdosed. Before I could process that, he told me, voice cracking, barely breathing through the words, that the trunk was in his living room. I told him to stop messing with me. He asked me to come over. And there it was. Same ornate designs. Same scuff marks on the corners. Same crack in the mother-of-pearl flower on the lid. No footage on the Ring camera. It had simply appeared while he slept. Neither of us said anything for a long time. Then I said, "Screw it," and opened the lid. The hinges groaned like something exhaling after years of held breath. The air that came out was stale and wrong. But the interior was empty. No body. Just a faint dark stain and that smell. Braden asked if I'd done this. I hadn't. We argued. He said if he went down, I was going down with him. I said fine, maybe Jess set this up before she died. Maybe she'd arranged for the trunk to follow us as punishment. A final message. Braden said he wanted to burn it. We took axes to it first. Smashed it apart. Fed the pieces into the fire pit out back. The lacquer sizzled and oozed as it shriveled in the heat. The smell that came off it, I don't have the right word for it. It smelled like burning flesh. Like we were doing something that had no name but was deeply, profoundly wrong. We burned it to nothing. I went home. A few days later, one of Braden's co-workers called me. He hadn't shown up to work. I called in a wellness check. The police found him. He was inside the trunk. Burned to a crisp. Not a single scorch mark on the wood. I woke up one morning and it was in my living room. I don't know how it got here. There was nothing on my cameras. No signs of entry. Same trunk. Same crack in the flower. Same scuff on the corner. I moved it to my basement storage. Then I thought, what if I get locked inside down there? Who would hear me? So I dragged it back into the middle of the living room and set cameras on it. Mounted a magnetic alarm on the lid that triggers the moment it opens. The first night, I woke up at 1 a.m. to the alarm shrieking. I was standing over the trunk. The lid was open. My hands were on the edge. I had walked out of my bedroom in my sleep and opened it myself. I called the alarm company and told them I had tripped it by accident. I didn't sleep again that night. After that I put a padlock on my bedroom door with a combination code. I handcuffed myself to the bed frame and froze the key in a bucket of ice, so I'd have to wait for it to melt before I could free my hand. I wired a separate alarm to the bedroom door that triggers if it opens. It worked. Mostly. Most nights I wake up when my arm plunges into the ice water reaching for the key. A few times I've come to fumbling at the padlock combination in the dark. Once I slept so deeply I only woke when the door alarm tore through the silence like a blade. But yesterday I woke up standing directly over the open trunk. I don't know how I got through all of it. The ice bucket. The padlock. The door alarm. What woke me wasn't any of those. It was my neighbor pounding on the door, screaming my name. I hadn't heard the siren at all. He was shouting over it. I went to the hardware store that afternoon and bought steel bars. I welded a cage around the trunk so the lid can't open more than a couple of inches. But it started to smell again. That same smell. And sometimes at night, from inside the steel cage, the trunk moves. It jerks, it thumps. Like something is in there. Like someone is in there. Trying to get out. I'm terrified to get rid of it. I know what happened when we burned it. I know it'll just come back. And I keep having the same dream. I'm the one inside it. I'm the one thumping. I'm the one screaming in the dark, and the house around me is empty, and no one is coming, and my hands are going raw against the lid. One of these nights I'm not going to wake up from that dream. I can feel it. I don't know how to end this. Because it hasn't ended. I can't go to the police. I can't ask anyone for help. I can't explain any of this to someone who hasn't seen it. What I know is this. We locked a person inside a trunk and left them there. And now the trunk is locked around me. Maybe that's all this is. Maybe that's the whole answer. I just needed to say it somewhere. To someone, before I run out of ways to keep myself from climbing in. If you know what this is, if you've seen something like it, leave it in the comments. I read every single one. And if this is the first video of mine you've watched, subscribe. I'll be back. Assuming I wake up.